Welcome, everyone, to Her Story Podcast. I'm Dr. Vale Forbeck, and I'm here with Ashley today. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. And let's kick it off with you telling the audience a little about yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Like you said, my name is Ashley. I'm a trainer, nutritionist, and health coach, and I help women transform their bodies and build confidence.
Awesome. I love that. And can you tell me, take me back to the beginning of your journey. Were you always interested in fitness and nutrition? Maybe one and then started getting a little more interested in the other because they kind of go hand in hand?
Yeah, so I actually used to be a kindergarten teacher at a charter school in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I taught for 5 years, and, to answer your question, I did always have a passion for fitness. I played soccer my whole life, and I worked out in a way that I thought was, working out looked a lot different than what I do now. But how, there was this moment when I was in school where a colleague was asking people, if you could do anything else, what would you do? And we were just kind of going around. It was not serious. It was just a moment where we were going around kind of imagining what else we would do. And I said, in another life, I would be just like Kayla Itsinas. And if you're not familiar, she's this Australian virtual trainer. And this was when Instagram first came out. So she was like one of the OG Instagram trainers. There wasn't that much online. And I just felt so inspired by her, thought what she was doing was so cool. And because I did have an interest in fitness, I'm like, that would be an amazing job. And, fast forward 5 years later, I ended up quitting my job and going all in and starting a business that is not the same as what Kayla Itsinas does, but it does, that's when I basically started to pursue the education that it took to get me here.
And what education pieces go into being a fitness trainer and nutritionist?
Well, I started off with a personal training certification. That was like the fastest thing to just get in the door.
Yeah.
And I do believe training clients in person is a essential foundation because, there's nothing like hands-on experience.
Right.
With a large variety of people with all different goals. And that's how you get good. I think that was really critical for me. But then from there, I pursued nutrition certifications and health coaching, and I'm actually currently studying to get a functional nutrition certification. So
awesome.
I'm very interested, and we can get into this. But, in understanding root cause and of your symptoms and how to optimize your health through nutrition and wellness practices.
Wow. And how long did the certifications take? How long does it take someone to get a personal training certification?
I believe it took me about 6 months.
Okay.
Maybe, I think it was about 6 months. And I actually got my first job as a trainer before I actually had my certification, because what happened was during that time that I was studying, it was so weird to not be teaching. And it was this weird limbo of, okay, what am I going to do? So I did have a serving job. I was waitressing. And I also had been doing some stuff in real estate with my partner at that time. But it was not like I was so used to teaching, which is such a normal, predictable routine. So I thought I need to get into a gym and at least start shadowing trainers and start learning. So I called around a bunch of gyms in Nashville where I was living and was just asking gym owners if they would hire me before I was certified. And pretty much everyone was like, no, we don't need an uncertified
Was that discouraging
person.
Or did you think about stopping before you finally found something?
I was not surprised that people, were not interested in hiring me, but I figured, I just kept calling. I'm like, somebody's going to let me come in.
Someone's going to cave.
Yeah, someone's going to let me come in for an interview. And Jeff, this guy who shout out to Jeff, he's the best. Because I really don't think I would have gotten to where I am now if I didn't have this great opportunity to work in his gym. And he had a very specific clientele. Not all gyms are like this, but the people in his gym had really been training there for a long time, decades. Like this was a family environment. It wasn't like I'm trying to lose 10 pounds and I'm in and I'm out.
Yeah.
It was a very like established place where everybody, knew each other already. The trainers had been there a long time. So, him saying, come on in and let's just have an interview was amazing. And I just kind of sold it as, I want to learn from you and all these experienced trainers. And when I'm certified, like ease my way in. So that was discouraging in a different way. Like it wasn't discouraging being rejected by people not wanting to hire me, but more making minimum wage, cleaning dirty towels, at 5, 6 in the morning.
Humbling roots.
Yeah, it was a little more that was like the discouraging part because I'm like, what am I doing right now? I had a steady job. I was progressing in my career. And here I am like, in my late 20s starting completely over. And just, you kind of, that was a low moment.
Yeah.
There's some low moments mixed in there. But generally, it was the best thing ever, because I learned so much from all these people and got my first clients and just built up some great experience until I was able to just go off on my own and didn't need to work inside anyone's gym and eventually built my own private space.
Yeah.
And it just, grew from there. So
would it be fair to say that Jeff was like your first mentor in the industry, in the fitness industry, or did you have other people
I
kind of
think
mentoring
professionally, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think earlier on, I had great role models, but I think professionally, as I was pursuing this whole new chapter of my career, that was a great person that I was seeing on a daily basis and genuinely having conversations with. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And when you were taking on your first clients, what were some of the first learning moments that you can remember where you're like, okay, I got to remember this going forward, not to do this or to focus on this more?
Having such a wide range of clients in terms of age and athletic ability and goals is constant learning because you're switching to, you might have just to give an example, a younger person who's just trying to lose a few pounds and wants to make sure their form is good because they're new to lifting. And then you might have an older person in their 60s who has prior injuries and feels, when you're in your 20s and you're new to this, it feels like a fragile situation. You're like, I don't want to hurt this person, their mobility might be different, their strength is different, they're scared of hurting themselves, but they're trying to get healthy.
Yeah.
And then everything in between, a mom who's just trying to get in their workout and build a relation. They're just trying to have an outlet for stress and conversate, but you're also trying to make sure they're not flailing around. So there's just such a wide variety. And I think that's amazing because I had a lot of opportunities to correct form, which is the most important thing. I can't tell you how many group fitness classes I've been in, as later on in life where I can't turn the trainer eyes off and I'm seeing people around me just exercising with the wrong form. And I'm like, you're going to hurt yourself and I want to correct you and I want to help you feel it in the right spot. And you're just seeing all this stuff going on. And a lot of people who are just starting out might be a little intimidated to correct someone's form, especially for me in that position, being young and having a lot of older clients who maybe have gone to this gym for a while, or they're talking, they're busy, they don't want to be paused, stopped, and corrected. And so to have, the confidence to be like, hold on, we're going to fix this. And then also seeing them take your feedback and not always be able to implement it. So you're in this awkward situation where you're like, oh, that's not right. And you have to get really good at cueing and communicating effectively and having confidence. And so I just feel like that's such a great and important, especially in the fitness space when everything's online now and on Instagram, it's like, can you have a brand new person who's never worked out before or a 65-year-old with injuries and limitations and get them moving in a way that's going to improve their life and get them feeling strong and correct movement patterns, and that just takes practice. So those are some of the best things that really came from that.
Yeah, and it sounds like it takes a lot of like people skills. Like you have to be able to read people. You have to be able to, like you said, communicate effectively and in a way that they're receptive to the information. Is that something you would kind of like? I feel like people are naturally good at that. Some people, is that a skill you had to develop over time, or you learned to develop over time?
I think I've always been a people person
Yeah.
and love to talk and love to just hear people's stories. So that came, the social aspect came very naturally. And people share a lot with you. It's kind of a lot of service jobs, where you're in a position where people are getting close to you and then they're vulnerable and you feel like a therapist in some ways. So that kind of came naturally. But I think the skill of being able to have that rapport and develop a relationship and trust while at the same time, like you have your two brains at the same time, like while counting their reps and correcting their form and keeping track of what's going on and then looking ahead of like, where are we going next in the gym and someone's there, so we're going to have to pivot or, oh, you're not feeling good today, so what my plan was, we're going to do something different. That when you're new, like now I could do that without in my sleep. But in the beginning, when you're first learning, like that part does just take practice. And obviously observing how other people roll with things and, it makes you better at it. But yeah.
That makes sense. And like you said, there's sometimes people have injuries and you have to work with that. What are your limitations? Because I know as a personal trainer, you're not a physical therapist. So you have to know where the line is. So where is that line?
That's an interesting question because it's so context dependent. Some people that have experience playing sports, I find, or being active in some way they know their bodies better.
Yeah.
And there's and I didn't know that since I played sports and I've been active, I know my body really well. And I know the difference between pain of an injury and pain of, I got to push through this or I'm a little uncomfortable. But when you're, in entering in this world and you're working with so many different people, you start to realize that you always obviously have to err on the side of caution of like do no harm, obviously, right? And it takes time to get to know your person, your client, and you also need to know how well they know themselves. Sometimes it just varies so much. I trust that people know themselves best and know their bodies, but there's always I've had some experiences where people have truly no experience doing any sort of activity ever, and they don't know that difference between, is this supposed to feel like this? Is this am I hurting myself? And, oh, this is an exercise burn, or this is uncomfortable, but look, I finished the movement and now I feel great because I did a hard thing.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun working with people like that where I have to get to know them and help them get to know themselves and toe that line. But generally speaking, if it's a sharp pain, like
It's probably a
we're
sign.
not,
Yeah.
And also it's, if you're good at your craft and you know what a movement should look like, if the form is good, if there's no reason for it to hurt. If form is bad, then you could be allowing someone to continue a movement with bad form, and like who knows what hurts. There could be a whole bunch of things that are hurting because they're not moving correctly. So it's like, no, how does this look here? Using your common sense. Like if this looks good and we've worked out together enough, I kind of know your threshold and you're not complaining of something dramatic, then, we can assume. Just stay calm, stay confident. And I also share my own experience when I'm training people that like, hey, I've been doing this for over a decade and I, care a lot about my form. And every now and then I get a little twinge or a tweak or, you're not paying attention or you're not gracing your core and you might feel a little something. Just back off, assess your body, maybe drop the weight, try it again and just see how it feels. And sometimes you just gotta gain that confidence within yourself and lead by example.
Yeah, yeah. Leaning into that mind-body connection, which I learned in Pilates. What are your thoughts on Pilates?
Oh, I love that. I think, so I do reformer Pilates myself. sparingly, like I'm not a big regular and I'm definitely not good at it, but I don't feel that I personally do it because it's great to develop body awareness. It's a great challenge and it's great for core strength and stability. But I think for the reason that most people are doing it is to change their bodies. And it's not an effective way to transform your body and your physique.
That's the big controversial question.
That's the thing.
That's your take. Okay.
I think it gets this reputation because the women that we see doing it are these lean women, the models, and they're just thin, tend to be, right? That's like at least the image we've been sold and that we see when we go into the studios, right? And so we assume they got this way because of Pilates. But really, and this is like really what started my whole entire journey and how I got into this, but what gets you a lean physique is your nutrition, and like building muscle. And Pilates is not an effective way to like progressively overload your muscles to be able to maintain muscle mass for life as we age.
Interesting.
It doesn't mean it's you shouldn't do it. Like I said, I do it myself, but it's really not the way to get the body you're looking for. Okay. And so that's where the misconception is, I think, for most people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And take me back to Nashville. You're in this gym, you just started out, you're getting some clients, you're building confidence. How many years did you do that before you took the next step, which was, I assume, starting your own business, or was there something in between?
Great question. I trained in a gym that was not mine, in that initial space for probably a year and a half, I want to say. And after 1 year, I was already taking my own clients I didn't have my own private gym, but I would travel to clients and I started to do corporate boot camps and I just kind of branched out with experience getting my own clients. And then it might have been about a year and a half before I said, I think I can make more money and market myself and just do this all on my own. And at that point, maybe 1.5, 2 years in, is when I just fully did my own thing. And then it was this pattern I was seeing of people reaching out to me looking for a trainer. And yes, they wanted to build fitness, or maybe they just wanted accountability to exercise, which is a great reason to get a trainer. But I saw a lot of women coming to me specifically saying, like, I'm trying to lose fat. I want to look lean and toned. It was more of an aesthetic goal to transform their body. I want to get healthy. And I could only do so much in 45-minute session twice a week. I realized the real gap was in what they were doing outside of the gym when they were not with me. And they're getting stronger, they're getting results, they love the experience, but can I change your body if you're not going to do anything outside of our sessions, right? And so I realized, okay, I need to pursue the education to be able to coach people on like what to do. So that was part of it. But the other thing was just realizing that everything I saw promoted, especially online, and just like the kind of the businesses that I would maybe look to model my own business after were very much either nutrition focused or fitness focused. It was very rarely both, unless it was a bodybuilding trajectory, right? Like I'm a bodybuilder and then I have my own clients and I help them transform their body so they can do a bodybuilding show, and then we're tracking our food and all of that. And I was not a bodybuilder and I didn't wish to be that. Yeah. And I found that most people are like normal people that don't necessarily want to compete in a bodybuilding show, but they want to look hot. Yeah. And lose weight, and they want to do it in a way that's not insane, in a sustainable way. And they want to be healthy. And they love talking. I mean, I'm talking to people all day in the gym about what we're cooking for dinner and what, water purifier are you buying? And, what brands of protein powder do you use? And what clean makeup? We're talking about holistic living and wellness. And I'm so passionate about all of that. And I'm like, this is it's almost 3 pieces. We need to have the right fitness plan. We need to have the right nutrition, but we also need to like have the right lifestyle and habits.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see that as an option out there. So I'm like, I'm just going to create it myself. I'm going to help women by coaching them and combining all of those pillars into like one customized experience so I can really support them and not just looking different, but living their life differently.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what did you start this when you moved to Tampa? Because I know you were in Nashville. You came to Tampa at some point because that's where you're at now. So tell me about that transition. Did you like start your business in Nashville, then come to Tampa and have to get a whole new set of clients, or how did that go?
I started this in Nashville.
Okay.
So I created a coaching program. I still trained people in person. I also simultaneously built my own private gym space in Nashville during all of this and was eventually able to move my in-person clients to train in that space and started doing group classes. And I still did corporate boot camps and grew my one-on-one coaching business, which was really like the bread and butter.
Yeah.
And that, because it's virtual, the coaching, I started to reach people from all over the country and then even international. And it was just growing. And I still, again, continue to train people in person. And some of my in-person clients would also, do the virtual stuff too. But it just grew. And then COVID hit. And I had to kind of scale back, obviously, a lot of in-person stuff for a short time.
That makes sense.
Not for too long.
Yeah.
In Nashville, it wasn't a year plus lockdown. It was relatively short, but it definitely, there's so much uncertainty at that time. I was like, well, if there's ever a time to go all in on online coaching, now is the time. So I really was forced to kind of grow and learn how to support people better in that virtual space. And then, it just kind of grew from there. I recently moved to Florida as well. And so I haven't even gained in-person clients in Florida. I've just mostly been focusing on my my one-on-one coaching here. But
is that something you want to eventually do again, or are you kind of like comfortable with where you're at and just want to take your time with the virtual?
I think I'd like to build a community here too and probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's been quite personally challenging year. So it's been good to have a singular focus and not be also like in and out of a gym in the background, because I've had so much other things going on in my life that it's been good to just focus on, my virtual community and supporting my clients. But I think long term, I think it would be so cool to build another private gym, do group classes, maybe host wellness retreats. I mean, I have so many ideas.
Yeah.
And I do think in-person community is so important for everyone. We need that.
Yeah. So it sounds like, you really like the in-person experience. And tell me how that differs from the virtual experience. Obviously, you do both, so you believe in both. But tell me how they differ and the pros and cons.
Yeah, I think the best results come from the virtual coaching that I provide. If I can also see you to train you once a week or twice a week in person, amazing. That's like the cherry on top, obviously. Some people need that hands-on experience.
Yeah.
But the best results are going to come from having me like in your phone, being able to communicate with me and have me hold you accountable and support you all the time versus just that like training session. So my one-on-one coaching program basically allows me to create a progressive training program for you through my fitness app. So you have something to follow when it comes to your workouts, but you also are going to have your own custom nutrition goals. And that could be for fat loss. That could be for weight gain. That could be for body recomposition. That could be just to improve your health. Maybe you don't have a aesthetic goal necessarily, but your nutrition is still going to be, planned collaboratively and monitored by me to improve your goals, to get you results and improve your health. And then there's a virtual community. I'm doing live group coaching calls every week and supporting you through WhatsApp, with voice notes and text messages. So having all that support is really what's going to help you see results.
Yeah. So you mentioned about form. Are you able to help with form corrections virtually as well?
Yes, I have my clients upload videos of themselves for feedback on their form. And I even do Zoom personal training sessions too sometimes.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Was it daunting having to move from Nashville where you knew clients? I don't know, were you like all virtual already? Like you said, COVID, short period of time, but I'm sure you probably still had some in-person clients.
Yeah.
But uprooting your life basically and coming to Tampa and not knowing how that was going to go, was that something that was daunting to you? Were you relying solely on the income of your business at that point to live off of?
So the move to Florida was overwhelming for a lot of reasons because, yes, I had such an established community of in-person clients that I loved. Most of my income was coming from virtual. So it wasn't detrimental, it wasn't that daunting. And from a financial aspect, I knew I would be okay, but it was more emotional, to like leave that community and have to just, there's something about just getting, like, my goal was never to be a full-time trainer and just be in a gym all day, every day. And I also never intended to just be on my laptop and never, interact with anyone in person either. I truly love aspects of everything that I do. And so I've created a lifestyle where I can do both for that reason, because I need that diversity. So it was definitely hard to leave, and then also to be on a computer a lot and have to go all in on like building and scaling my virtual coaching was a challenge for sure.
Interesting. So your business, it's called Fit Life Collective, is that right? Fit Life Collective. Was it hard to learn the administrative part of running your own business? Like you have to do you do your own taxes? Do you hire someone for that? You mentioned a fitness app. Did you create that fitness app? Do you use like kind of the template of someone else and put Fit Life Collective on it as a label? How does that work?
Yeah. So it's funny because I thought I would be a teacher forever. And I think I went through college and then, of course, my first job teaching with just no experience with marketing, sales, accounting, like nothing. So just never even mentally prepared for that type of lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? And when you are a solo entrepreneur, as people like to say, I'm a one-woman show. It truly is wearing 20 hats at once at all time, because all of the client-facing stuff where you're actually doing the thing. But then every minute of my time outside of that, I feel like is sales and marketing and content creation, even though it's not like I don't want to be an influencer, but here we are, we're an influencer, right? There's so much work. That's a full-time job in itself. And then, of course, like you said, the administration, the taxes, the financial stuff, and just back end of websites and utilizing different software is a lot. But if I can learn it, anyone can learn it, because I just had no experience with any of that. And YouTube is a great tool. And now we have ChatGPT. I mean, there's just so much. You can figure anything out. You truly can. But the fitness app is cool because I didn't build it from scratch as my own. I got it. I think I got this fitness app when I first started my business, like very early on. I've had this for 7-8 years.
Oh, wow.
And you're basically only allowed as a client to join it if you have a trainer invite you. So you couldn't just download the app right now and like use it.
Oh, wow.
So it is cool if you are in the position I was in, right? And you want to be able to train clients virtually. It is a affordable way to get in the door, because you could use all the videos that are already on there, or what I did was just film hundreds of YouTube videos of myself performing every exercise known to man and uploaded them all to the app. So you kind of brand it as your own. And now my clients get to see me performing the exercises for them.
Yeah.
And just totally customize it. So it's a very cool way to to, to do that for your clients. And it's good experience because, again, you're shooting, you're on YouTube, you're editing. It's all good experience. So that from that standpoint, that was really cool. And I've seen that app evolve over the years, and I'm able to, chat with people and customize programming and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah. It sounds like you're constantly learning with owning your own business.
Things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Even just the format of what I do and my program has evolved like every year. It's changed.
Yeah.
But that's just based on, what's working for people. And also, how can I do this more efficiently? And also asking myself as a business owner, what do I want to spend my time doing? What do I actually love and have fun doing?
Yeah. Yeah. For people who are personal trainers and are considering starting their own business, what would be some red flags where you're like, yeah, this wouldn't be for you?
Well, I kind of alluded to this already, but I do think you need in-person experience. And I think you need to experience working, even if your niche is you help women in their 20s lose fat, or whatever your niche is, like if you want to be good at what you do, you got to get real life experience with all types of people, especially in fitness, because that is where you get good at it, and that's where you're smart and you're able to. Now I can hop on the phone with someone and it's a prospective client. I think that's the word for it, right? And they might say, they tell me a little history of, I used to be an athlete. I haven't worked out in years. Every time I do a lunge, the front of my knee hurts, or I got a shoulder issue when I try to do this. I already know why those things are hurting, where they're weak, before I've even seen them in person. I'm just on a phone call. I know what they need. I already am building a program in my mind of like how to correct the imbalances, rehabilitate the injuries, and build overall strong foundation. And that's just from experience. And you don't get that from just virtually putting exercises together for people that you think that you like, that go to, like you need to actually get like out into the world.
Interesting.
So just sorry to answer your question, the red flag is you don't skip that part. If you really want to be good in a sea of, a lot of, what's the word? Yeah. There's like a word. I'm blanking on that word. You have to be good at what you do and get people results and be able to work with all types of people with different goals, even if it's not your niche. And that's how you do that. So I think building that variety of experience is key.
Yeah. And kind of looking at the other side of things, for people who are seeking out trainers, personal trainers, and what are some red flags as far as you do not want this person training you?
Oh, that's a good one. There's so many. I think first off, you need to be asked the right questions. So I remember when I went to just trying to put myself in the shoes of a client, because I actually haven't had my own personal trainer necessarily, but I've gone to like physical therapy. And I just remember, little side tangent, went to a physical therapist I dislocated my shoulder. And I had the best experience with this woman. Oh my gosh, she like changed my life. And the first meeting we had was her just watching me move and talking to me and asking me a bunch of questions so she understood the problem. And then, I took her feedback and ran with it. And in my mind, I remember thinking that is a good trainer. Same thing. That's what a good trainer is. It's like asking a lot of questions, watching how you move. And there's so often the red flags that you're asking are trainers that are just like having a cookie cutter program. They're not even really watching you or paying attention. They're not oh my gosh, the number of people that aren't like recording their clients' progress. Like, do we have an initial assessment of not only what you look like, your measurements, but how strong you are, what you can lift, what you can do in the gym, so that in a month I can show you, look how much stronger you've gotten.
Yeah.
And then on a, session to session basis, are they tracking how much you've lifted? I've had clients in person say to me, wow, like this is where I'm supposed to, I didn't know what this exercise is called, or that I'm supposed to feel it here. Or, even though it's my job to pick the weight for you and make sure you're doing it right, I'm also, while I'm coaching you, going to be telling you, so we're doing a bench press, a single arm. This is called a single arm. But I want you to know so that you can eventually go off on your own and be informed, not just like, oh, yes, you want to turn your brain off because that's why you hire a trainer. They do it for you. But I also want you to know this is what you're doing. This is where you should feel it. Are you feeling it in the right place? Is this feel too easy for you, too hard for you? Are you feeling any pain? And this is how much weight you did last time. Look at you just went up by 10 pounds. I like to tell them that. So they're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting stronger. Like all of those things should be communicated. And I think the other big red flag is just not correcting form. Just letting your client just go through the motions and they're not even doing it right.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it's like a laziness
I
part
think
on the
all
trainer?
of this is like, it can be lazy. It's usually laziness or just not having the confidence of like knowing how to correct somebody.
Or like acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Or knowledge flaw. And then to piggyback off that question, the big influencers that you see on Instagram that are trying to sell you the cookie cutter workout programs, what are your thoughts on that?
I think following a plan, it's going to depend a little bit on the person. And there's so much to weed through online, But if this person has good results for themselves and their clients, and you're branching out to purchase a program, I think that's still a step in the right direction.
Okay.
I would prefer that, and then worst case, you get a bad program, than you scrolling through Instagram and just copying a workout that you see, or going on YouTube and just copying a random workout. Because what people don't understand about building muscle and strength training is it's inherently a little boring, like the stuff that works because it's repetitive. You're just doing the same movement patterns, and there's slight variations of those movement patterns, and there's ways to progress them, but you're really doing the same movement patterns over and over for the rest of your life. You're pushing, you're pulling, you're hinging, you're lunging, you're twisting, right? Like there's not that many exercises in existence. And we don't see results when we're trying to jump around and do to mix it up all the time. So your plan should be boring and it should be repetitive, but that will allow you to see if it's working. Because you're like, wow, I did this bent over row a month ago and I couldn't even get 8 reps, or I couldn't do this weight and now I can. And your confidence with the movement pattern gets better. And the reason that is so important is because these movement patterns are the foundation, because they're functional. They're the things that we do all the time. We stand up out of our chair, that's a squat,
Yeah.
And so we need to be confident in those movement patterns to be strong and prevent injury as we age. So if you are, instead of jumping around and doing random stuff all the time or going to a workout class here, which again, I sound like I hate group fitness. I promise I don't. I love group fitness.
You even run some, right?
I
Run
run,
some classes.
Yes, exactly. Like I love that. It's fun, but your foundation, the core of your routine should be boring, progressive plan. So if you reach out and you find an influencer, or hopefully not just an influencer, hopefully a trainer that has some qualifications, try it. Give it a solid 8 weeks at least, at least that should be a nice, boring 8 weeks. And just that repetition and having something structured to follow, I guarantee is going to do you better than jumping around to random Orange Theory.
Yeah.
And then sprinkle in a spin class, and then follow something, and then you can at least have a foundation.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's a lot of misinformation in the fitness world, and as far as fitness and nutrition goes. What are some widely accepted false theories about fitness and nutrition that people tend to believe?
I think The first thing that comes to mind, since I work with so many people who are trying to lose fat specifically, two big things are that, exercise is the way to lose fat. And it's the second we have a fat loss goal, like our brain goes to exercise. Like, I need to start running. I got to get a trainer. I got to join this class. What workouts should I be doing? I'm trying to tone up. That's number one. And I can kind of go into that. The other thing is blaming. Yeah, I'll elaborate on that because I'm like, it'll come back together. But the other big thing is blaming our physique, and being in the situation we're in on our hormones, our age, our metabolism, bad genetics, pretty much anything other than our lifestyle and our nutrition. And it's just, it doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yeah.
And I am currently, I'm about to get my certification in functional nutrition. And that is all about taking the symptoms in your current experience and trying to find out what is the root cause of that versus just medicating a symptom and putting a Band-Aid fix on a symptom. It's all about, okay, where is this symptom coming from and how can I heal? And so that involves a lot of testing and supplementation and tweaking of our nutrition and our lifestyle. But even with all of that amazing knowledge and personal experience with that world, being for 90% of people who are just not at the weight they want to be at, not at the energy level they want to be at, not feeling fit and strong and healthy, it's really just, it can be so much simpler than that. It's really just fixing our nutrition.
Yeah.
Getting better sleep, and following a consistent training plan. I guess just to tie those two back into each other, I think it's just been what we've been fed. I know that I grew up in 90s dieting culture, and so I was, highly influenced by, eat less, move more, which there's some truth to that, of course, but it was very much, do more cardio, eat as little as possible, and chasing, that skinny physique. And I don't know, there's just been some misinformation along the way where people just jump to, I got to run it off, I got to do all this cardio, when really the more efficient way to manage your weight or to lose weight is to control what we put in our mouth, because you can't out-train a bad diet.
Yeah.
And so it's just, if we're in that position and we're trying to change the way we look, we really want to look at what we're doing the rest of the day, what we're eating, and how we're living our life day to day.
Yeah. Do you think you can be an effective trainer without a learning mindset?
No, I don't think you can be effective for long at anything if you don't have that learning or growth mindset. I think we have to be willing to change our minds when we learn new things. I think we need to be willing to, learn from our mistakes and change with the times.
Yeah. What have you changed over time with taking in new information? What's a major thing that you've changed your opinion on?
So much. I mean, to start out, when I first started my journey, one of the things, I know I mentioned I was a teacher and I was, into fitness, and I was in another world. But really, when I first started, I was, again, influenced by 90s dieting culture, running 5 miles on the treadmill every day and just starving myself, literally. I mean, my friends were all on the same page. It was just very common to do that, and trying to chase this lean, toned physique. And I thought that was the only way to do it. And I just did so much cardio, and I was just burning out. And my partner at the time, I remember he said to me, why don't you just come to the gym with me? And he's like, just put what you're doing on hold. I just want you to come and lift weights and see, just do it for a week. And the first couple of days, I would show up early to the gym to run my 3 to 5 miles before doing strength training, because I was so terrified that if I stopped the cardio, I would gain a bunch of weight. I was like, this is not going to work. Lifting alone is not going to work, which, there's some truth to that, because you got to have the nutrition dialed in. But I, after 2 days of being exhausted because of trying to run beforehand, I finally chilled out and I said, okay, let me just do this. And we were using dumbbells and kettlebells, and I was learning how to do my first push-up and pull-up, and I was so quickly seeing change in my body just from building muscle and strength, and I felt like I got so much more done in an hour, less than an hour really, like really pushing myself. And then trying to spend multiple hours doing cardio a day. I'm like, wait a second, there's a better way. I was tightening up, toning up. Truly, like that word really just means building muscle, but that's how it felt. I was like, there's something there.
Yeah.
You feel something, and I just was so shocked. I'm like, wait, okay. Then I was like, okay, if I was wrong about the cardio thing, like what else? Because I don't have the energy to do all this fun stuff in the gym if I'm starving myself. I need to actually fuel. So that sparked the interest in, okay, how do I eat for this? Oh, I need more protein. Oh, I do need carbs. What are the types of carbs that are going to actually be good for me, right? Yeah. And so it kind of propelled from there. So I feel like the biggest change in my journey was just realizing that, cardio is important. It has a time and a place, but it's, doing only cardio and starving yourself really is unsustainable. And by lifting heavy, it's not only empowering to build strength, like it's just the coolest thing. It's the biggest confidence builder and it builds resilience, but it also really transforms your body. It gives you the shape that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It firms you up and tightens you. And then to fuel yourself and not be scared of food and have such a restrictive mindset is really empowering, knowing how to eat. Those are like two really, really big ones. And I would say one other crazy one, it's crazy to me now because I can't believe it, is I cut out meat for a short time and I tried to be vegetarian for maybe 6 months. I don't think I even lasted a year and felt horrible and my hair and skin were not thriving and I reintroduced meat, and felt a lot better. But that was like a big thing I changed my mind on. Just those are kind of personal examples, but just running too much, restrictive, not eating meat. Now I eat so much I'm very animal-based now, and just see the benefit in fueling yourself well and training hard in a different way.
As a business owner, have you ever experienced burnout? Have you ever taken a step back and been like, all right, I'm doing too much. There's too much going on in my life. I need to just breathe and kind of focus on other things?
You know what? I have never been burnt out to the point that I don't like what I do or don't want to do it anymore. Where I'm like, I need to take a step back which is why I know I'm doing the right thing and I'm in the right space and following like my true calling, because I definitely get tired and I have to learn to set boundaries and grow and evolve in what's worth spending my time on and what's not, and where should I actually consider hiring out. I definitely work a lot, but I think mentally I'm not burnt out because I genuinely love it. And I feel so grateful to be in charge of my own day.
Yeah.
And have control over my own success. And that so many people trust me to guide them. I'm like, how lucky am I? So I think that physically, yes, I can overdo it. I definitely am one of those people that tries to do too much all the time. And like physically, I can get really tired and need to kind of reprioritize. But I definitely don't think I've ever, in this era of entrepreneurship, I haven't hit that true burnout wall where I'm like, oh man, I can't take on any more clients. I don't know if I want to wake up and do this tomorrow. I don't feel that. I genuinely feel so excited that this is my job, like all the time.
Do you think you're someone who sets like strong boundaries and that's helped with that aspect of not feeling burnout? Or do you think it's genuinely like you have a love for this, a passion for this, and you've just never like felt that?
I think it's genuinely just loving it. I don't think I've always had good boundaries, to be honest. I don't think that's necessarily my strong point.
Oh.
I think boundaries have evolved from a personal standpoint where I don't also overcommit now to say I can do all this stuff with friends. I think that has maybe, as I'm talking through this, maybe you're changing my mind or I'm changing my own mind. Maybe boundaries does have something to do with it. Initially, I was thinking that from a lens of, professionally. And I'm like, I try to do a lot, try to do it all. Do I have great boundaries? Maybe not. But no, I think if you are trying to start your own business and you are passionate about it and you like it, then maybe it is more about boundaries with how you spend your time outside of that.
Got it.
And I know that if I don't make time to work out and go to the sauna and walk for at least an hour a day and eat good food and sleep, I'm not going to be a happy person to my family or my friends or my clients. So I do feel if that means I can't go out on the weekends or I have to be more strategic about what I say yes to, or I travel. I love to travel and I travel a lot with my friends, but they know like I'm also working and there's going to be times where it's just like I'm at the cafe. And so I do think, I guess from that lens, it's about knowing what is important for you to feel good and show up as your best self and protect that.
Yeah. Do you think then you putting yourself first, your health first, prioritizing yourself helps you be your best version for your clients, for your friends and family?
100%. It's essential. It really is. Because especially in the fitness and wellness space, because in a lot of ways you're leading by example too.
That's true.
And you just aren't going to feel aligned or just there's something that's just off when you're off. And I know this because I'm going through a health thing lately. This past year has been I've been more taxed and fatigued, and it's not from burnout from my job. It's just, to be fully transparent, I'm going through a mold detox right now, right now, from mold poisoning. And I mean, it's actually cool that I get to experience this and then share that with my community. And because it's a lot of people deal with this. And so now I'm going to be able to kind of talk through how it goes and all of that. And I'm excited to kind of see the changes. But like, even just something that like that, which is somewhat out of my control, it does make you feel like, oh my God, I put pressure on myself. I want to be perfect, and like, and that's obviously unrealistic. But if you're not at least prioritizing your own health and wellness, like how can you expect people to trust you and look up to you?
That's very true.
Like maybe the mold detox, that would be a little harsh because that's kind of out of my control. But like if I'm not, I always tell my clients, I would never ask you to do something that I wouldn't do. So like a lot of people who have tracked their macros before, they're used to being given these unrealistic goals that are just not sure. Maybe on paper it says to do that, but I'm just like, I track my macros. I know that's not enjoyable maybe for everybody to eat 160, for a woman to eat 160 grams of protein. Okay, can we still get results with 120 or 130?
Yeah.
And you're a happier person? Okay, let's be real here, right? I'm putting myself like, would I do that? So it's a lot of that, leading by example and being a real human and making decisions like that too.
Yeah. How do you have a good support system that helps you with your business? Or like, I mean, I know it's a one-woman show, which is phenomenal that you're able to do all that. But do you have someone at the end of the day that you rely on that you think is key to being successful in your role as a business owner? In my other interviews, people have talked about their community and how it plays a vital role. So I'm curious if you feel the same way.
That's probably been a struggle for me, or one of the biggest struggles for me as a business owner, that I would definitely advise anyone, going through this to be very aware of. I think that with the right support and community, you can just get so much further faster, and it's so essential, especially if you are anything like me and you thrive on communication and people, then you need that. And I think the times that I've struggled the most, I've been the most isolated. And I'm working, but I'm just me, myself, and I on my laptop. And those are that's what you have to look out for, I think, as an entrepreneur, is yes, we're in the day and age where we have, all of these amazing resources and technology, but like I do think that you have to prioritize some sort of, even if you're just going to a co-working space, or you have one friend. I remember when I first started my business in Nashville, I didn't have any friends there because I had moved there and didn't know anyone. And I just found I was like scrolling through content that was like local, like Nashville people. And don't ask me how I found this girl, but I found this girl and she's one of my best friends now. We joke about how I was like, hey, you want to get coffee? And I was kind of like DMing her and she's like, who is this girl? But I just was like, I really want to be your friend.
I love that.
Literally, I was just like, I love what you do. She kind of was in the same space as me and she was local and she was from New York and I'm from New York. And I was like, oh my gosh, should we get coffee? And she kind of was like resistant at first. And eventually I was like, come on, I'm going to force you to be my friend.
Yeah.
And so we joke now, but like that was how even just having that one person when I first started, that we would get coffee once a week and kind of talk about our businesses. And that was so helpful.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to look out for and to be really mindful of. That's not been a strong point for me, but like throughout the whole time, it's definitely been something I need to do better with. But more recently, like my business coach that I have right now is amazing. Like investing in mentorship is key.
Yeah.
And with my mentor that I have right now, there's a virtual community that kind of comes along with that. And there's a group coaching call every week. So I do get some interaction there, and that's really, really helpful.
Yeah. And we're coming to the end of the episode, but I did want to ask if you'd be willing to share any stories with difficult clients, or maybe you won someone over who was like very stubborn, set in their ways about how they're dieting, how they're working out, or someone that you were like, yeah, we're not a good match. I can't treat you. I don't know. Did that ever happen?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can think of an example probably for all of those. Well, I'm trying to think of when you're talking to someone. So it's hard to say if this is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing sometimes, just to kind of pick off the last thing you said, like if it's not a good match. I think in the beginning, you kind of have to say yes to everything because you need the experience. So it's fine. I did work with people that were not a good match, and I had a lot of difficult situations, and I was inexperienced too. So it was like, that's fine. I think that's good to have that. You need to learn from that.
Yeah.
And then as I got good at my job and got more demand for my service, I was able to niche down and now genuinely work with people that are like, we would be best friends too.
Yeah.
Not everyone, maybe, because age and stuff. But, genuinely, like, I love every single client I have, and we're genuinely like friends. And the people that I would train in person in Nashville, same thing. It was a very like family vibe because I knew the energy I want to be around.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but you have to like earn that ability to be picky, I think. And I think in my opinion, at least, I think it was good to say yes and have all types of different personalities and stuff. But, I think people that don't have a growth mindset, who some people will reach out. And this is good for a listener too, who's that person who's like, I want to invest in myself. Maybe I need help. Maybe I need a coach. But there are people who will reach out and they just almost want to repeat their story. They need someone to they want to be seen.
Yeah.
They want someone to hear, like, this is my problem. I'm stuck. Nothing works for me. They just want to play into that and aren't actually ready to do something about it or take ownership of it or be accountable, And then there's the person that has this story and this pattern, and they're so motivated to change that they're like, help. Like, give me something, get me out of this. And they are open-minded and willing to change.
Yeah.
And I think at this point I can figure out who's who.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready, like, I will call you out on that. If we're on a call and I'm like, I don't sense that you're going to be open-minded or receive tough love and be pushed out of your comfort zone, that's not going to be a good fit.
Yeah. How do people respond to you saying that to them?
I think good, because the other part of your question was like, have you won anyone over? And I do think that sometimes people put on a front like that too because they're scared. I mean, changing your whole life is scary. This isn't about losing 20 pounds. This is usually about way more than that.
Yeah.
It's like, what got us to this place?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, what got us to this place is like hardship in our life, stress, a toxic relationship. We're unfulfilled at our job. We had not the best role models growing up, and now we're not informed. We don't know how to eat. We've never played sports. We don't know how to train. There's just so many factors.
Yeah.
So sometimes people put up a tough exterior because they're just defeated and lost. And it's not that they don't want to change, but they're just like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Everything I do doesn't work. You think you're going to be the one that can fix it? It's a little bit of like a challenge.
Yeah, and you're like, challenge accepted.
Yes. And I'm like, well, let's see. Can you take ownership too? Can you, are you good with accountability? How do you take feedback? All of that. So I do feel that if you have the confidence when you're in those conversations to put a mirror up to somebody and you have the confidence to, like be real, people respect that. And they don't want to hire someone who's passive and just a yes man anyway. You know, people generally who are motivated to change, they want to hire and work with someone who they trust, who they know is like confident and is going to challenge them.
Yeah.
And so those are situations I've won over where they're like, okay, you're confident that we can make a change here. Like, let's go.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you think would be really good to share with the audience before we wrap up today's episode?
I mean, we were all over the place.
I know.
A little bit of like,
this is a fun conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about business, and from the entrepreneurial standpoint of like taking a risk, but also a little bit we delved into like if you're interested in transforming your body. I think my biggest message to somebody who wants to transform their body and their life is, some of the red flags that we talked about, right? Like you have to practice discernment in this world where there's just a lot of information. But generally, what I always say is like simple and boring is good. It's like this sexy, flashy extremes are because we live in the social media era and that's what gets people's attention.
Yeah.
Right? But generally, like what actually works is very simple and very boring. Like it's progressively overloading, doing repetitive actions and progressing in those exercises and those actions. It's the habits of, getting good sleep and eating real food and having good people around you and investing in accountability if you need that extra support and guidance. And then I think from the entrepreneurial standpoint, or if you're in the fitness space and want to be a trainer or scale your training business, I do think that nothing beats like real world experience and hard work. And you just have to be willing to call gyms and ask them to hire you or like shadow people. We I think want to take shortcuts because we see all this stuff on the internet of people just building anything and doing anything. And I think that's amazing to be like, wow, I can do anything. I can build anything. I can be anything. But I do think that nothing beats just doing trying a lot of things and seeing what you actually like. Yeah. What's something that's not going to burn you out because it actually like lights you up.
Yeah.
And just there's nothing beats that.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, you gave a lot of good advice. It was really cool hearing your story and
Thank you.
How you got to where you are. It's amazing how you can have humble beginnings and not even know that this is what you wanted to do. And then, a decade later, you have your own business and thriving.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this podcast. If you're interested in sponsoring an episode, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'll also list Ashley's socials in the description below so you can give her a like and follow as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.